In my past life, I worked as a video producer at NYLON magazine, and one of the few pieces of merchandise I have from this era is this 10th anniversary NYLON mag with Lindsay Lohan on the cover. This is literally from April 2009. We're giving early Obama, we're giving post-Bush, so I thought it would be fun for us to look at this cultural tone from a bygone era. Okay, so first let's start with the cover. We see Lindsay Lohan. She's looking edgy. She's looking fierce. She's wearing severe shoulders, midriff, belly ring. To the left, it says party like it's 1999. Of course, this is a reference to the year in which NYLON magazine debuted, but it's also interesting within the context of global history to think about 1999 as the apex of Western civilization. As you'll remember in The Matrix, Neo existed in a perpetual 1999. First page, we see a swatch ad. It's giving pink, it's giving youthful. We're seeing what looks like a woman leaping over an invisible hurdle. So it's not only giving function and fashion, it's giving sports. Of course, the very first 2 pages of the magazine are an ad because money. This ad is actually a perfect brand integration for NYLON because you have the color story, the pink, the black, you have the white background, the bold contrast. So if you're not wearing a swatch, are you even a NYLON girl? Next, we see an ad for Target. We're seeing some graphic tees, which I feel is very indicative of the aughts. It says in handwriting, in every decision, there lies an opportunity to be responsible, to be respectful. Life is an evolving cycle. We all must take action. Wow. These are actually really profound statements for this Target ad to make. Of course, within the context of the ad, it's like, what do these words even mean? Like, we must take action as in we must buy these garments? But in purchasing this clothing, are we being as responsible as we could be? Because it's like, what is the supply chain for this shirt? Why is this shirt so affordable? What are the conditions of the people actually making this shirt? And how much money are they making from its production? The slogan for Target in this ad says, expect more, pay less. If I expect that the factory workers creating these shirts have better working conditions and better pay, can I still count on that price to be low? Ad number 4. Who will be your accomplice tonight? This is an ad for Stolichnaya vodka. There's definitely a performance of Russian drag in that the text, while it is in English, is made to appear Cyrillic. And the question, who will be your accomplice tonight, makes me think of espionage, makes me think of spies, it makes me think of the Cold War. And then, of course, we have a model looking very severe with some kind of ribbon around her wrist, perhaps alluding to being handcuffed, being tied up. So this is feeling very kind of like James Bond vibes to me. Okay, ad number 6, we have Got to Be Guardian Angel. This is an ad for heat protection spray. You have 4 women dressed in metallic bodysuits. This also almost feels like an action movie of sorts in the way that these women are holding their hair tools, more like wielding their hair tools as if they were weapons. Also, thinking about the name of the product, Guardian Angel, it's as if these women are soldiers protecting your hair from the damaging heat of your blow dryer. And it's cute to me that the biggest word in this ad, other than got to be, is the word new with an exclamation mark. Like, what if it said old? Next, we have a Diesel ad. It's in black and white. It's giving heavy chiaroscuro, so come on drama, come on cinema. We have a woman on the right page peering upwards as light is cascading to her face. She's wearing a strapless denim dress, it appears. She's holding a doll, like a doll of a boy. And what is her facial expression? She looks a little nervous. She looks a little scared, perhaps in awe. Maybe that's why she's clenching her doll. To the left of her is juxtaposed an image. It's a floor in front of a doorway with a door ajar. And there are 2 light bulbs that are illuminated and then like 2 that aren't. One is broken. There's shattered glass on the floor. It's very enigmatic. It feels dangerous. There's a fragility to her beauty that I think is juxtaposed by the strength and utility of the garment that she's wearing. Furthermore, you have the functional utilitarian material of her dress that features pockets, by the way, juxtaposed with this like beautiful floral brocade of sorts on the bed sheets. So while she's strong and firm in the face of whatever may befall her, she's also still girly. Okay, the next ad we have is Baby Fat. So we have Kimora Lee Simmons, an iconic figure from the aughts if you were watching MTV. So in this ad, we are thinking about utilizing our womanliness to attract male desire. We have Kimora Lee standing behind the trunk of a car. The trunk of the car is opened. And I think it's interesting to have this imagery of an open trunk juxtaposed with her posterior that is facing the camera. Her one arm on the truck, her head turned to the side over her shoulder. She's holding a chic Baby Fat bag in her right hand. All of this is to say that she is presenting herself, but she's doing so in a nonchalant way. She's trying to say, I'm down, but I'm not easy. Then, of course, to fully activate the scene, to the left we see that she's communicating with a male figure, nondescript. This could be any man because we don't really see his face. He's wearing a graphic tee though, so we're giving aughts fashion, of course. And then in between the two figures, we have, some blurry tree line moment. Perhaps this is to represent the fruitfulness that is to arise when these two figures consummate their relationship. Here's an ad for Roxy. It's giving mermaid, it's giving aquatic, we're giving coastal, we're giving gradient. It feels refreshing. And there's something so chic about the final letter in the logo for Roxy being cut off. They're like, bitch, we know you know who we are. And I also love the touch of having this handwritten website on the side of the ad, roxy.com. It is adding this human touch to an otherwise entirely digital experience of visiting a website. And I love how the O in Roxy is replaced by the body of the model, as if to say, oh, look at her. Wow. Okay, so this ad is from Hudson Jeans. So this ad is a site-specific ad. It specifically calls out the environment in which it is displayed, a NYLON magazine. You have these two hands that are so retouched they don't have fingerprints, unrealistic beauty standards. And then it says in one hand, remember to give NYLON a hand for 10 inspiring years. So cute. It doesn't actually display the product for sale. This brand feels that their identity is strong enough that they don't actually have to show you what they're selling for you to know what they're selling. Okay, we have another jeans ad. We see this evocation of attracting male desire yet again, because in the distance, we see, through blurry bokeh, a smiling man's face. So if you wear these jeans and maybe show a little skin, men are going to be smiling at you. Wow, and it says myspace.com/silverjeans. TBT. Next, we have an ad for Camper. So what are we selling here? We're selling shoes. And the slogan says, imagination walks. So on the left, we see a figure of a chic woman sitting. It's feeling spring summer. We're seeing leg. We're seeing a semi-opaque blouse and shorts. There's a little bag. There's a nice belt that matches the shirt and the bag, and we see some sunglasses to the side. Most notably about this figure is that there's no head. In its place is a camper's shoebox. Then, to the right, we see the shoebox open, and we see stairs descending from the shoebox as if it were an airplane. So the idea being presented here is that acquiring these shoes feels like traveling, feels like going on vacation, feels like you're just stepping off that plane and you see these broad new horizons that are waiting for exploration. This correlation is irrational. It's absurd. But this is literally how all advertising works. How am I supposed to make a rational purchase as a consumer if the messaging is irrational in the first place? It's almost like the marketers are counting on us to be irrational to make our purchases. So when we look at the figures that are descending from the staircase, what do we see? A lot of colorful garments, casual garments. So these are people on vacation. We see giant cameras, we see a giant map, we see regular sized cameras. So people are taking pictures, people are exploring. This ad also makes me think of tourism in general, because when we're tourists, when we go on trips to other locations, what are we doing? What is our intention? Are we trying to absorb a different culture? If so, is that possible by going to museums and taking pictures of buildings and going shopping and buying commodities that were perhaps not even made in that country? How does consumerism play into being a tourist? As a visitor, are you giving? Are you taking? This is a depiction of travel that I find to be very Western, that reminds me of Said's observations of Western society in his piece on Orientalism. Because is this really all that tourism amounts to? Is walking around and looking at things, looking at maps to go to other things, to look at more things, and taking pictures of those things? If you are a tourist in this fashion, are you using your camera as a colonial tool to absorb experiences and commodify them? What would vacation feel like if you didn't take any pictures? Here we have an ad for Bjorn Borg. It says, don't make up, break up. So this feels kind of like a rupture, a revolution, something different, a 180. Yet another jeans ad. Get your mech on. This ad features a very up-close shot of 3 bottoms. While this composition is mainly composed of denim on legs, it's still quite provocative in subtle ways. You see bits of skin atop the jean, so maybe they're not wearing shirts. The bottom is featured prominently in the figure to the right and to the left. At the bottom left of the ad, you see what appears to be a marina, as if these bodies were on a boat. So this is both like in your face and also subtle. So I'm kind of into that. Okay, we are 32 pages into the magazine and we're seeing the first original content, which is a table of contents. Form matches function, and the fact that the first 30 pages of this magazine are ads shows you, more important than the original editorials and articles and profiles in this magazine, is turning a profit for advertisers. Okay, we have a guess ad to the right of the table of contents. This ad is definitely an attempt to evoke this kind of old world European wealth, but then it's juxtaposed with the model, who is bringing this youthful freshness to this elegance. Like, yes, she's wearing a pearl necklace and her hair is coiffed, but she also is wearing a skin-tight pink dress with her underarms showing. So here's a Vans ad. This feels so nylon to me. The images are treated to look as if they were from a disposable camera. There's kind of the sepia quality to it. We have a light leak here. The bicycle feels kind of vintage. So here we have a Champion ad. It's giving sports. It says locker room above her. She's holding a water bottle. Of course, the label has been peeled off because we don't want this to be an ad for Poland Spring or whatever. And she's wearing a red pullover that is long enough to be a little dress. What elevates this to a more editorial space is, first of all, the canted angle. We love a canted angle. The high contrast also elevates it. Let's look at the names on the masthead and see how many I recognize. Editor-in-Chief, Marvin Scott Jarrett. Yes, I remember meeting Marvin Scott Jarrett towards the beginning of my time at NYLON. The only names other than the editor-in-chief that I recognize on this masthead are from the fashion department. The fashion director, Joseph Errico, the style director, Danny Stahl. She had a vertical in the magazine called Factory Girl, where every month she would go to a different factory for a different brand around the country or around the world, and just go through the process of what goes into manufacturing. So for example, I went with her to the Mario Badescu factory in New Jersey to see how they put together their skincare products. Also, I remember in a video that was never released, I went to her apartment at the time and filmed her exploring her walk-in closet, which was actually just a bedroom that she converted into a closet. I always found her incredibly charismatic, and I always thought it was a fun time to go on set with her. Okay, so we made it to the first piece of original writing in this magazine on page 40. It is the editor's note. So let's see what Marvin Scott Jarrett had to say in April 2009. The future is now. As I write this, I'm on a plane heading back to New York from Los Angeles. I can't tell you how many times I've made this trip since NYLON was launched 10 years ago. I'd been doing music and pop culture magazines Raygun and Bikini, but the idea of creating an indie girls fashion magazine, one that was not controlled by a huge corporation, had been in my head for several years. I never set out for NYLON to be the biggest magazine, just the coolest. So I put a brain trust together to make it happen, which included my wife and business partner, Jacqueline, Helena Christensen, who was really my first muse for the project, and its creative director, Mark Blackwell, who came on board as the editorial director. We set up our offices in December 1998 by renting out 3 rooms at the Standard Hotel on Sunset Boulevard in LA. It was a temporary space. I always knew that to do a serious fashion magazine, it had to be done out of New York. But it was fun. We had something like 3 IKEA desks, an assistant, we do meetings by the pool. For the launch issue, I recruited Madonna Badger to art direct. She had a boutique firm in New York. Things just started coming together. About half the content was being assigned in LA, the rest of it in NYC. We started mocking up covers, and I had a list of about 20 words that I really liked for the name. Nylon was on a layout that Helena saw, and she mentioned that it read like a combination of New York and London. I never set out for it to mean that, and I wasn't referencing the textile either, but it ended up making sense. Like the fabric, the magazine has been able to stretch itself around many different things. We moved to New York before the first ever NYLON came out, and we found a space on West Broadway in Soho. But I didn't think we really nailed what we were trying to do until a year later, with the April 2000 issue. I brought in Lena Kutskovskaya to do the art direction in-house, and model Anna Claudia was on the cover. It came off the press and immediately felt incredibly special. The content, look, and feel of it were able to compete with the bigger, more established women's magazines, but still had an organic DIY sensibility. Soon after, NYLON was nominated for a General Excellence Award by the prestigious American Society of Magazine Editors. My vision of doing something cool on a mass level was at last coming to life. A decade later, we are so much more than just a magazine, even though everything we do always comes back to it. We have NYLON TV, that's where I worked, NYLONmag.com, NYLON Guys, plus editions in Japan, Mexico, and Korea. We have put out 3 books: Street, the NYLON Book of Global Style, Play, the NYLON Book of Music, and Pretty, the NYLON Book of Beauty. Those were the 3 verticals: fashion, beauty, music. And partnered with brands from Nike and Urban Outfitters to MySpace and Apple. The NYLON Music Tour, which stopped in 36 cities in the US and Canada last year, is happening again this summer. We just started NYLON Records, and NYLON Films is in the works. I am dreaming up even more projects this very second. If someone has an idea, and I like it, we do it. There aren't 15 suits involved calling the shots, and I think it's this spirit that makes NYLON so special. True. That kind of spontaneity is behind everything we do. It's why we're in the conference room talking about how exciting Berlin is one day, and getting on a plane to do a whole issue about the city the next. This has just been an incredible journey, and many things have happened over the last decade. People have come and gone, but everyone who has ever worked here has put their handprint on what exists today, and the current team is the best ever. And as much as we're celebrating a milestone with this issue, we're already asking ourselves, what are we going to do for year 11? The answer is a lot. Wow, that was a really great historical introduction to NYLON's beginnings. Also, on the second page of the editor's note, there is a handwritten quote from Vivienne Westwood. Popular culture is a contradiction in terms. If it's popular, it's not culture. I think that really encapsulates the vibe of what NYLON was trying to go for. On page 44, we see submissions from readers. Let's see what some of these notes say. Dear NYLON, I have to admit that I wasn't excited to see Lily Allen on your cover. That is, until I heard her new song, The Fear. Amazing. Her music is so damn catchy, and the article about her changed my past views too. Wow, okay. Dear NYLON, I'm 3 issues into NYLON and loving it. Every page is magic. Thanks for not having orgasm quizzes. This is actually an interesting quote to find, because when I first started at NYLON, there was an explicit rule to not have any content about sex or dating or anything like that. But after NYLON was bought out, that is when we started to do more content around sex, to the point where I remember editing a video series speaking about specific and explicit sexual topics. Okay, so on page 52, we have our first allusion to the cover star, Lindsay Lohan. Here we have a behind-the-scenes photo of her getting her makeup done. Let's see what the text says. This month's cover shoot was fabulously delirious, as stylist Natasha Royd puts it. Lindsay Lohan arrived at New York City's Sandbox Studios to shoot her second nylon cover, straight from the airport in one of her trademark leggings and sweater combos. Do you remember when Lindsay Lohan had a line of leggings? The name was the birth date of Marilyn Monroe. She then proceeded to pose for photographer Jason Nocito until after 1 a.m. It was a little chaotic, but in a good way, says Royd. Lindsay was DJing off her iPod and it felt like a party. Because Lohan has such a strong personal style of her own, Royd created an inspiration board to illustrate her vision to the actress. Some of the standout pieces she wore included a sleek black jacket from Proenza Schouler and red polka dot pants by Louis Vuitton. There was also a sequined black and white Chloe blazer that Lohan took a special liking to. I was definitely excited and felt challenged to make her look uniquely cool and fresh for nylon, Royd says. Makeup artist Christopher Buckle echoes that sentiment. The nylon girl has innate style. She throws it together and runs out the door, and it works. Nocito is more tight-lipped about the affair. When asked about the shoot, he simply responded, "What happens on set, stays on set." Ooh. What was Lindsay Lohan playing on that iPod? This page serves more as an advertorial because it is incorporating brand mentions into the context of a behind-the-scenes look. So you have the image of her having her makeup done. You have images of the various products that were applied on her. So it's like, look at these products and how we're using them. You can use them too. Okay, happy birthday to us. You only turned 10 once. True. To make sure we don't forget this milestone, our friends made us cards. We're truly touched. Now, where's the cake? These are like specially designed nylon covers made by friends of the magazine. So we have one from Philip Lim. We have one from Volcom, Donna Cara New York, Charlotte Ronson. So these feel kind of like ads in a sense because, yes, we're celebrating the nylon brand, but who is celebrating the nylon brand? MySpace, Ben Sherman, Bloomingdale's, Billabong, Zune. Oh my God. Zune was Microsoft's answer to the iPod, and I remember that there were Zunes at the office. Zune, of course, did not succeed. So throughout this magazine, since it's the 10-year anniversary issue, we're having all of these like handwritten notes from different celebrities. I'm not sure if the celebrities wrote them themselves, but either way, the aesthetic is there. What did Christina Ricci have to say? Working with the Nylon team on both covers was great. From the styling to the photography to the hair and makeup, every bit of it was collaborative. We love to see it. Here we see Lindsay Lohan in an ad for Forn Arena. Who remembers that Forn Arena ad? So on page 66, we have reached our first editorial photo shoot. The concept is rain or shine. April showers bring May flowers, but in this sleek crystal-studded Emma Cook raincoat, you won't mind the weather. There's something that feels kind of groovy. We're seeing metallics on the wall. I'm thinking of The Factory, Andy Warhol. We have these insane metallic platform wedges with a strappy white surface. We have this extremely functional, non-porous, clear material covering the body to wick off rain, but it has crystals on it. It's kind of like a drag queen raincoat in a sense. Oh, and there's a quote from Yoji Yamamoto. "I inject anger into everything I create. You know, I feel that." Okay, this is kind of a sick ad from Honda. You have an oil truck on its side as if it were a mother mammal feeding its newborn babies. However, these babies are cars that are attached to the gas tank. What a strange concept, creating a composition that evokes life with completely inanimate objects. Okay, here we have a market page. It says sweet tart. What a girl wants sometimes. Ruffles, petite florals, and poppy colors. I love that. So they're presenting this fantasy that doesn't have to be all-encompassing. Sometimes. And look at these clothes. There's this like vertical rainbow striped blouse with a pussy bow. Kind of nasty. With pink cuffed jeans. And then this blue skirt, number 7. It's giving very Lauren Conrad would wear this on the hills. This chunky jewelry is also cute. At the top of this page, it says mass appeal quirky lady. So this vibe is the quirky lady. And then next we see mass appeal rocker chic. So we're giving the foil to this colorful pastel-y palette. It's monochrome and it's called Soldier Boy. Military wear goes AWOL with punk touches and sparkly accents. It's kind of funny to have the idea of punk, which is this like anti-establishment energy mixed with military. I feel like this is a really great example of co-opting and appropriation. When you have a countercultural movement defanged and recontextualized within the context of commerce. So we have some distressed jeans. Those are kind of cute, actually. This kind of sleeveless top. Here we have a third market page. It says mass appeal, hey man. So it's called Priority Male. Looking like a dude can be real cute. So this is about as genderqueer as we're gonna get in this magazine. So we have blazer, we have pinstripes, we have, I mean, this is still quite feminine, but, you know, I guess wearing a blazer makes you a dude. Okay, so here we have a mail-in subscription card. Just to give you an idea of the costs of media consumption at the time. It says, give the gift of NYLON a 50% savings, 10 issues for $20. So this is a year-long subscription to NYLON. 10 issues for less than $20. So that's less than $2 per issue, which is insane. Okay, so this section is called Private Icon, Helena Bonham Carter in Fight Club. Tough Enough, this article is called. If I had a tumor, the narrator Edward Norton remarks in Fight Club, 1999, I'd name it Marla. As the said morally dubious pill popper, Helena Bonham Carter shook off any vestiges of her virginal corseted merchant ivory rolls by way of raccoon eyes, a finger in socket coif, and a requisite cigarette dangling from her potty mouth. Potty mouth. Not so shockingly, Courtney Love, who seemed to and still does embody that ragged grunge glam aesthetic, was also up for the role. I didn't know that. The lone girl in a sea of testosterone, Marla, swathed in sparkly gothic black frocks, even in the most filthy surroundings, is a true broad. She meets Tyler Durden, Brad Pitt, while hanging out at a testicular cancer support group. Beds him, then proclaims, "My God, I haven't been fucked like that since grade school." Manners! We'd suggest Marla wash her matte-lipped mouth out with one of those pink bars of soap Tyler makes for a living. If only we didn't like her so much. I love this. So they're styling a look based on Marla from Fight Club, and they present a jumpsuit, a dress, they present a jacket, some high-heel boots, a CD by the Pixies, Surfer Rosa. We have Care Bear Band-Aids for Fight Club. This is really cute. Oh, and here we have an example of Danny Stahl's Vertical Factory Girl. Here she visits the Guess by Marciano factory to make a special dress. Let's see what Danny has to say. I've been NYLON's in-house party girl for almost a decade, which I'm pretty sure is a good thing. I've been to more NYLON events than I can count, and I'm certain there will be a few that I can't remember at all. Needless to say, when it came to preparing for our 10th anniversary bash, I quickly realized that not just any dress would do. But before we get into the fabrics, the zippers, and all that usual factory girl stuff, allow me to provide you with a little background. It was always my dream to work in magazines. After a few stints at some more commercial publications, I found what I was really looking for in NYLON. That was back in 2000, and soon after, I started as editor-in-chief, Marvin's assistant. But anyone who knows me knows that I am about as effective as an assistant as I would be training penguins to tap dance. And after 3 weeks, he was ready to give me the proverbial axe. But instead of just firing me, he gave me a homework assignment. Go home and write 2 lists. In one, identify what I could do well at NYLON. In other, outline my goals at the magazine. In the What I'm Good At column, I put party planning, party girls plan good parties, and accessories, accessories, accessories. In the goals column, I put accessories editor. That Monday morning, I sat down with Marvin and it was decided that I would start doing marketing and events planning, which in my mind translated to champagne wishes and caviar dreams. He promised that if I stuck to it, I would get my own pages. Soon after, I became the, get ready for it, technology and special projects editor. Yes, really. I started a column called Technolust, featuring such newfangled wonders as Discmans and, electric razors. Around the office, I was known as Gadget Girl, RIP. Think of her as Factory Girl's first incarnation, only with more mini discs and less bangles. As the years went on, I got more pages. I got my accessories title, and in October 2006, Factory Girl was born. In Paris, no less. I went to Chanel and made buttons. 2.5 years later, Factory Girl is all grown up. Sort of. She still won't ride in elevators, and she still hasn't learned that it's rude to use her BlackBerry at the dinner table, except of course when she's at home with mom and dad. Considering this illustrious history at NYLON and all the parties I've been to, it goes without saying that I had to do something really, really special for our 10-year anniversary event. And I don't know about you, but when I am planning a party, I start with what I'm going to wear. I knew that my dress had to be sparkly, like me, it had to be sexy, like me, it had to be cool, like me, and it had to have sequins, like, well, you get the idea. Most importantly, no one else could have the same one. I mean, who wants to end up a part of who wore it best? With all this in mind, I took a typically kamikaze trip. Leave Monday, shoot Tuesday, back in the office on Wednesday morning, to downtown Los Angeles, to the Guess by Marciano factory. Downtown LA looks nothing like the LA I know and love. Being the Beverly Hills girl I would be if I lived on the West Coast, I feel completely displaced. I could be in Portland, I visited Nike there, or Seattle, where the Microsoft Zune factory is located. I could be in Bogota for all I know. I feel like I need a different country code in order to call my friends in the Hollywood Hills. But it doesn't really matter where I am. All that does matter is where I'm going. This feels a little classist. Enter Alejandro Blanco, the creative director of Guess by Marciano. We immediately go back, quite literally, to the drawing board. I have various specifics in mind. I want to cinch my waist, I want to show off my legs. All those stares have paid off. I want to accentuate my tush, and I want to push up my, again, you get the idea. Next came picking out the fabrics. We go to the fabric room where, unsurprisingly, they keep all the fabric swatches. I choose a gorgeous black stretch sateen for the top. The bottom is also black but covered in sequins. While I want this dress to be classic, being the style director, and lest we forget, the former technology and special projects editor of NYLON magazine, I can't ignore the current trends. And one of the trends which I've been excited about recently is exposed zippers. I want something a little chunky, a little rock and roll, and entirely fabulous. It doesn't take me long to get what I want. It rarely does. As the dress is put together by people who can actually put a dress together, namely, not me, I go with Blanco to check out Guess by Marciano's latest accessories. After all, what's a dress without appropriate, and in my case, always excessive, accoutrement? I pick out a black leather quilted glove, just one, some rings, a crystal bracelet, a long chain necklace I double to make even more badass, and of course the fiercest pair of heels that Guess by Marciano has to offer. Thus accessorized, it was back to the factory floor. Unbelievably, after just a couple of hours, my dress was ready. Usually at this point I would tell you all about it. Yes, I tried it on, and yes, it fit perfectly. But the main event is yet to come. I don't know yet the details. There's no date and no location at press time, but I do know what I'll be wearing. Cute. This page says, Just Peaches, Nerds Rule. This is a column by Peaches Geldof, RIP, who is an iconic it girl. This article she wrote is called Geek Love, Peaches Geldof on the appeal of the underdog. I have a confession. I love dorks. And weirdos, and misfits. Show me a muscle-bound male model, and I will turn my head towards a bespectacled, skinny, and socially awkward boy instead. I'd take Clark Kent over Superman any day. My first boyfriend was a total nerd. I was 14 years old and very impressed by his knowledge of comedy rap, his assortment of Scooby-Doo memorabilia, and his excessive action figure collection. The second guy I dated had greasy black hair, glasses so thick that they made his eyes look like fried eggs, and he possessed an unhealthy interest in biblical apocalypse theories. He could also quote lines from Home Alone at will. As I got older, my friends were all into the ruggedly good-looking jock types, the ones who looked like they could lift you up with one pinky, while I was swooning over boys who haunted the dive bars of East London. My heart would leap into my mouth every time one of those effeminate, unassuming oddballs met my open-mouthed stare. My palms would break out into a sweat when one of them ventured timidly onto the dance floor, doing a self-conscious shuffle with his gangly limbs. I tend to pine for boys who have the shy charm of Weezer's Rivers Cuomo, the wit of Woody Allen, and the looks of Seth from the OC, who, with his love of comic books, won me over far more than Bad Boy Ryan. I prefer interesting conversation over toned biceps. There's something very appealing about a man who can overcompensate the brain department, and these guys don't take women for granted. When you're a little wimpy and dressed in a Microsoft t-shirt, you have to work harder at getting female attention. Looks alone won't cut it. So perhaps their sweetness and computer literacy will. I'm not alone in my love of beta males. Take Kate Moss, arguably the world's most iconic face, falling for skinny, unassuming cult magazine editor Jefferson Hack. The slight chap fathered Kate's daughter Lila, and is now married to the equally beautiful model Anouk Lepere. Then there's French sex kitten Jane Birkin, who was turned on by the height-deficient, big-nosed crooner Serge Gainsbourg. And most recently, a small battalion of gorgeous actresses has been championing the rise of rockstar geeks. Mandy Moore plans to wed the prince of folk angst rock, Ryan Adams, who has a penchant for shrunken, luridly colored wool sweaters and a pageboy haircut. And Zooey Deschanel is married to Ben Gibbard, R.I.P., the tortured soul from emo Warbler's Death Cab for Cutie, a band any self-respecting geek must have a poster of. Natalie Portman even jumped on the bandwagon, briefly dating the musically gifted commune dweller lookalike Devendra Banhart. In the end, most of us just seem to want someone who can be self-deprecating, someone who knows his shit and isn't hiding behind a cliched macho front. Nerds are the lovable mavericks of an overbearingly masculine society that is driven by old-fashioned ideals. These Dungeons & Dragons-loving, Einstein-quoting, chunky spectacles-wearing guys are the true catches. So what you're telling me is Peaches Geldof loved an alt twink. And you know what? So do I. Here we have Sienna Miller licking a pair of Doc Martens that are floral. Look at these beautiful accessories. They're very chunky. Like, I feel like this is for drag. And yes, look at this image of Jodie Kidd, the model. Like, no shade, I could literally buy all of these pieces in the garment district. This fun kind of indie girl moment. This photograph was taken in 2004. It's feeling kind of American Apparel and playful, very like mustache tattoo on the finger. Oh, this is interesting. So this is an article called In Bloom. And pictured here, we see a woman styled in bloomers, but she's wearing the bloomers as her bottoms. So this article has a little bit of history on how the bloomer got to be an outdoors, an outside garment. Rewind to last September, when a whisper was heard in many front rows around the world during Spring Fashion Week. It happened at Temperley in London, at D&G in Milan, and at Chloe and Stella McCartney in Paris, when models stormed the runway in dangerously skin-clinging short shorts called bloomers. Wait, is that underwear? Well, no, but it used to be. Bloomers were born in 1850, when a suffragette named Amelia Bloomer began playing, gasp, sports. To preserve her modesty while sprinting in short skirts, she turned to bloomers as a kind of Victorian track pant, and her friends, the women's rights pioneers Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Sojourner Truth, soon followed. Although initially ridiculed by both men and fashion magazines, bloomers eventually took off, fading only when mini dresses became the uniform of the 20s, the 1920s that is, as seen on starlets, flappers, and bootleg malls. The current crop of cheeky bloomers takes as much inspiration from America as Japan, where they're called burama and worn scandalously short by teenage students. But you don't need a plane ticket to Tokyo to pull them off. The easiest way to wear today's bloomers is with a simple, loose-fitting top and a smile. If you're shy but still love the look, slip a pair of textured tights underneath and add a longer shirt or jacket on top for extra coverage. Of course, you could also follow the example of Norwegian model Siri Tollerud at the D&G show, who wore hers with a cropped tweed jacket and high heels. If you're still unsure, follow the inspiring outburst of Eliza Doolittle, the heroine of My Fair Lady, as played by Audrey Hepburn, who memorably screams, "Move your bloomin' arse!" to all of British society. Very good advice, especially if you yell it to all your friends before being late to a party. The content of this is just like so dense. Like you have history, you have cultural references, it has vision, imagination. It is not encumbered by the fact that it needs you to click on a link to open a page. Like the page is here, like you already have the page. So this next section of the magazine is called Beauty Queen. It focuses on beauty. So there's a little bit of an intro. It says, girl talk. The advent of cell phones has robbed us of the satisfaction of pacing while talking and slamming down a receiver in anger. And while checking your bank balance is infinitely easier with a touch-tone keypad, we're still nostalgic for the days when it took a little work to dial the right number, and when it was impossible to tell who might be on the other end of an incoming call. Just as worthy of reminiscence as the rotary phone is the era when blush was called rouge and was rubbed generously to the apples of the cheeks, and sometimes on the lips as well. By the 1920s, the rosy cheek had lost its negative connotation, outdoor work, and started to imply health and leisure. So go ahead, reach out, and blush someone. Clever. I appreciate this reference to the transformation of the meaning of the aesthetic of the rosy cheek, where in the past, if you were pallid, this was a sign that you were not working in the fields, that you were regal, you were of money, you were spending your time inside. Now that aesthetic has totally flipped and you appear more youthful, more vibrant, healthier, sexier if you're tan and if you're flushed. Here we have a model posing with a rotary phone, a cord phone. This shape, as I've read, was kind of the iconic standard shape and appearance of a telephone during the mid-20th century. So it's kind of iconic that even at this time, there was a feeling of loss with the progression of technology. Well, duh. In the following pages, you see some more beauty stories, and the through line between each collection of products is a different femme fatale or seductress as is being presented. And the through line between all these products is a different femme fatale from different movies. So we have Ornella Muti as Princess Aura in Flash Gordon. We have Natasha Henstridge as Syl in Species. Mila Jovovich as Lilu in The Fifth Element. Daryl Hannah as Pris in Blade Runner. You learn a little bit about movie history, you learn a little bit about fashion, you learn about beauty, you learn about the actresses of the moment. This is a really amazing reference for developing one's own personal style, as a fashion magazine should be. Okay, so here we have a short profile on Emma Stone. So this is Emma Stone 2009. It's called Supernatural. It says, she's known for her comedic roles, but Emma Stone has a few surprises up her sleeve, namely ghosts, zombies, and Salinger. Fresh from a bout of weapons training, as it's called in Hollywood, that's shooting guns to the rest of us, Emma Stone is sitting at a table outside the Kings Road Cafe in Los Angeles, digging through her purse for her iPhone. The sun is setting on what has been, even for California, an unseasonably warm winter day, and the traffic is starting to build up as rush hour sets in. Aha, she exclaims, triumphantly holding the phone aloft. She beckons me closer to look, and there it is, photographic evidence of her afternoon set as her wallpaper. In the picture, the very small Stone is wielding an almost ridiculously large weapon. Adding to the comedy of the situation is a pair of soundproofing ear protectors. It's a huge pump-action shotgun, she says, thrilled. The preparation is for her role in Zombieland, in which she and 13-year-old Abigail Breslin deal with a world where zombies have taken over everything, and there are only 4 people alive. It would seem as though the zombies, they're crazy swift, like raptors, have a distinct advantage. I've never had to really ever shoot anybody, says Stone, who will leave for Atlanta, Georgia in the morning to begin making the film, so that'll be interesting. As preposterous as it sounds, people keep comparing it to Shaun of the Dead. It's not like that. Zombieland seems far more suited to Emma Stone's tastes than the movie we're ostensibly here to talk about, Ghosts of Girlfriends Past. A romantic comedy starring Matthew McConaughey and based on A Christmas Carol, the film finds Stone playing the titular ghost, to whom McConaughey's character lost his virginity when she was just 15. I know, right? Says Stone. She's wild. Because her character is a ghost and stuck in her 1988 persona, Stone spends much of the film translucent, with braces and a perm. Sounds like someone drew the short straw. I will say that I made a vow after Ghosts that I'm never gonna, if I'm lucky enough, do a movie again where I only like the character and I'm not in love with the script, she says, ordering a loaf of bread and a bowl of marinara sauce, please. She continues, I only want to do stories I really want to tell. Stone was born in Phoenix and moved to Los Angeles when she was 15 to pursue acting full-time. I propositioned my parents to let me move, says Stone, who talks loudly and emphatically. I don't know how they thought to say yes, but they did. And thank God. Acting was the only thing that made me happy. From the beginning, Stone knew that she wanted to do comedy. I watched a lot of Saturday Night Live. I really just wanted to be Gilda Radner. Initially, she had a hard time of it, but then she dyed her hair from its natural blonde to dark, and 2 weeks later, I got a role. I was like, wow, I didn't know people were so close-minded, she says, laughing. Stone's first movie role would prove her breakout. As Jules in Superbad, the actress instantly shot to the attention of casting directors all over LA. I just did it and was wide-eyed at the whole process, she says, sighing happily. It just ended up being something incredible. Another project which Stone seems ecstatic about is Paperman, an indie due for release this fall. When I ask her about it, she can hardly talk quickly enough. After Ghosts, I told my manager, I'll wait forever if I have to find a script I absolutely love. Then Paperman came around, and it's so good, she says. The film is very loosely based on one of J.D. Salinger's particular quirks. A recluse, Salinger would rarely leave his house. On those occasions that he did, he would go to high school basketball games and start befriending students. In the film, which is produced by Richard Gladstein, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Finding Neverland, and set in Montauk, New York, Stone becomes acquainted with a writer, played by Jeff Daniels. The film also stars Kieran Culkin and Ryan Reynolds. It was just the best experience of my life, Stone says. It was heaven. Refreshingly honest about the rigors of Hollywood, especially for an emerging actress, Stone knows that she's not going to be right for everything. A lot of times I'll read a script and know it just isn't for me, she says. Recently there was this audition for The Rum Diary, based on the Hunter S. Thompson book. I was reading it and was like, God, this girl's amazing and the script is amazing, and who wouldn't want to do a movie with Johnny Depp based on a Hunter S. Thompson story? But I knew I was never going to play the part. I knew it. And that happens to me a lot. I turn down auditions for really great movies that I know I would never cast myself in. I think like a producer too much, she says, smiling. My ultimate goal is to produce. Even if it means not acting anymore, it's my ultimate dream. Okay, here we have some illustrations of artists, and they're all talking about their most memorable music moment from the past decade. Deborah Harry on Courtney Love crowd surfing in '04. Nowadays, it's hard to imagine, but there was a time when stage diving and crowd surfing never existed at rock shows, or at any shows for that matter. Iggy Pop was the first person to go out and walk on the hands of his audience. That stands out to me as an iconic event. However, in all the crowd surfing moments I've witnessed, watching Courtney Love walk into her audience was one of the most outrageous I'd ever seen. I can remember it clearly. I was watching with friends from Manhattan's Bowery Ballroom balcony in 2004, as she was elevated above the crowd, being passed from hand to hand. I remember thinking how funny and weird it looked, like a giant snake pit. It was such a crazy angle to view it all from, and there I was, looking down as it unfolded. From where I stood, it almost looked as if the crowd wasn't made up of individual people, but that it really was just a gigantic organism, all moving in sync, with Courtney at the helm. With all of the concerts I've been a part of and have seen over the years, this was truly a memorable musical moment. Every person in the audience fed off her energy from that performance. And when she crossed that invisible boundary between the stage and the crowd, everyone jumped at the chance to literally carry her performance on. Taking it all in, I couldn't help but think about Iggy and his legendary stage dives. It was wild to watch how Courtney took such control of that audience, continually leaping into the crowd. It was such an incredible performance to witness, and it was definitely one of the most exciting rock and roll moments of the last decade. So here we have images from NYLON's 10th anniversary party. Wow, look at these images. Like this one in particular with Peaches Geldof, Bunny Kinney, and Lily DeKeegerist. You see that it is a longer exposure image. We have the light trails that I feel like is so indie sleaze. The heart-shaped eyeglasses. Corey Kennedy. Corey Kennedy was an iconic figure in the NYLON universe. Okay, on page 168, we have reached the NYLON magazine cover story of Lindsay Lohan. So it says, Lindsay Lohan is back. So this is interesting to read now because Lindsay has experienced this kind of comeback in the last year or so. And so this comeback that this magazine is referring to is in light of those late aughts party girl days. So here we have Lindsay standing in front of a white wall, very NYLON. She's wearing kind of a crazy outfit. It's like what color is that? Like a melon leotard under an open white dress shirt that's belted. And then there's like a black jacket over the dress shirt. She's wearing some kind of black shirt underneath with these like open-toed shoes that have like feathers coming off of them. Okay, so let's read this. In hindsight, it was probably not a good idea to schedule an interview with Lindsay Lohan to take place after a photo shoot on a Friday night. It doesn't end up wrapping until 1:30 a.m., and by that time, she is tired and immediately leaves for acupuncture. It probably wasn't a good idea either to reschedule the interview for 1 p.m. the following day. Sure enough, there is no sign of her in the lobby of the Bowery Hotel in Manhattan, where we are supposed to meet. She's upstairs, still asleep, but 4 hours later, in a room adjacent to the patio, we eventually get to talking. It's been almost 2 years since she was last on the cover of this magazine, and the person who glides through the richly appointed lobby, through the heavy glass doors, drops into a cushioned wicker chair, and places her thick, well-used composition book and BlackBerry on the table, seems to be a very different girl. In that time, she's lost and regained her driver's license, been in and out of rehabilitation centers, and started dating Samantha Ronson. Now, although she can't avoid the scrutiny of the media, Lohan might just be back on track. The 22-year-old is alert, peppy even, and considers questions carefully before answering them. She's talented. She started a little fashion line, 6126, only leggings so far, but watch this space, and is planning a new album. Most importantly, though, she comes across as realistic about finding work in Hollywood, a place where, like the rest of the world, she's better known as a tabloid staple than a serious actress, and is determined to find a new project that will prove to everyone who has forgotten that she can act, and well. Sure, she fucked around for a while there, acted out in the way that people her age do, but the girl sitting in front of me appears to be grounded, focused, and has a twinkle in her eye that speaks to dyed-in-the-wool ambition. So here we see Lindsay standing on an apple box. No shade, but I feel like whenever there are tools from inside of a photo studio in the final image, it takes me out of it. So I'm just like, I don't know, put cloth over the apple box. Like, I don't want to know that there's an apple box there. It's been almost 2 years since I last interviewed you. What's changed? Time flies. It was good. Samantha and I have been living together while I looked for a new place, and I just finally found this great new house in LA, so now we're closer to each other. It's literally just around the block, and I've done my leggings, which is really exciting. I'm really happy with them, and we're doing more. I got my license back a week and a half ago. That was a big deal. It's restricted, but it just feels so good. What else have you been up to? I've been looking for a great film to do, and I'd love to be working and back on set, but I've come to a point where I'm really tough about what it is I do. I don't just want to do anything. I want to do things with great actors who I can learn from and with great directors who I can watch so that I can eventually direct in the future. Like with A Prairie Home Companion? Yeah. And Georgia Rule with Jane Fonda and Felicity Huffman was amazing. I have some meetings when I get back to LA this week. The fashion stuff has been my hobby. In terms of the leggings and figuring out what other line we can do. And I'm now doing this spray tanning product, this airbrush spray, which I've wanted to do for a while. Hopefully that will come out this summer. And I've been talking to a bunch of networks to produce this show I want to get started too. What's that going to be about? I don't really want to talk too much about it because the deal isn't closed, so I don't want to jinx it. Recently, I've been taking time to just get really involved in all the projects that I'm doing, and to kind of be more hands-on. It just makes me feel better. I think it's just, I've grown up. You change every year, but it's been good. You seem a lot healthier and a lot more lucid. When we've spoken before, I was very go, 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 go. Now you seem calmer. Like last night at the shoot, you were very in control of things, and the pictures looked great. Thank you. I saved some in my phone, and my friend took some. I laughed because it says laughs. I love doing photo shoots. I love the camera, and the clothing, and the hair, and the makeup. It's just so much fun. I mean, if I could just sign with IMG and do ad campaigns and model more, I'd do that. When I have time off, because that's fun for me. That's not work. But you obviously very much want to get back into acting. Is that your number one priority at the moment? Yeah, there's not much I can do about the fact that I've become a kind of tabloid obsession. I can't change that. And yes, the websites, the gossip pages, and all of that stuff have hurt my career. They're like the burn books of Hollywood. They do have a massive impact on what people say and do, and on what studio heads and directors are afraid of. And that's a really scary thing for me. I've always said this, and people haven't really listened, but I got into this industry because I loved acting. I loved fashion, that's where I started with Ford models, and I swear by music. I wouldn't be able to go through a day without having music around. Those are the 3 things that I strive to do. So when people say all these things in magazines, it's like, well, I don't do a movie for it to be written about in a gossip column. I do the movie so that people can come and see it, so that I can stretch everything that I've learned, and I can recreate a character that somebody might relate to, and tell a story. People don't really think of you as an actress anymore, do they? It's hard because people have completely lost sight of what it is I do. And I was nervous doing the leggings and stuff like that because I felt like people were just going to say, oh, she's not really getting work, so she's got to do this to make money. But nothing I've ever done, no film, no deal, no clothing, no club that I've gone to has ever been about the money. Yeah, it's scary when you realize, oh my God, I'm not working, and I have a house to pay for now. But I've never been in this industry for the money. I'd rather do projects that mean something than get a big bonus check. I really don't feel like I should have to prove myself to anyone because of living out my college years in the public eye. I'm glad everything happened the way it did. There are some things that, yes, I would have loved to have done differently, but I learned from my mistakes. Some people don't. I'm fortunate to be able to, but I want to be able to do a great piece of work in film because I want to be able to show myself at eye and allow people to see that this is the reason I do this. But it's hard to find great things. And there have been things that I've really wanted to do. Like the one movie I've wanted to do for so long is Alice in Wonderland, directed by Tim Burton, but that didn't work out. Are people upfront with you when you go in for meetings and auditions? Do they say, you're too famous to be in this movie? I'm really honest when I meet with people, and the people I work with, my agent and my manager, when I'm with them, I say it like it is. I'll say that if there's not a great director, there are no other actors who I can learn from, and it's this far away, and it's for that much money, yeah, you guys might think the script is great, but I'm not going to be able to get into that. I'm going to want to leave, and it's going to be hell. Are people honest with you? I think people are to an extent. It is what it is. You're not right for the part, and that's it. That's how I'd like to hear it. I don't think there's any reason for people to beat around the bush about it. I can take it. I'm a big girl. Obviously, you don't want me. I don't want to do something that somebody doesn't want me to be involved in anyway. Have you been in a meeting before and thought, I know you're not looking at me as an actress now. You're looking at me as this person whom you've read about in the newspaper. Who you think is unpredictable and irresponsible? Yeah, I do think that, but I confront it right away. I can imagine you would. I do, because I'm like, it is what it is. But things are different. And unless you are willing to give me the chance, you'll never know. I mean, when I was doing films before, I couldn't take it for a bit. I was in every scene, back to back, every day. We had 16-hour days. I don't think anyone can really handle that. And I didn't have a life. And I had family shit going on, and I had relationship stuff, and I had this, and I had that. I couldn't take a second to do what I wanted to do. Now, I've been able to balance it. On the last film I did, called Labor Pains, I was able to balance both, and it felt really good. But yes, it's been so frustrating. Are you going to lots of auditions? No, I mean, I've met with some people. I can't say one of the names. One is Sean Penn. I spoke to him again the other day. We're trying to get Seth Rogen for this project, but Seth won't call us back. So call us back, Seth, if you're reading this. Laughs. I interviewed Pharrell recently, and your name came up. Uh-oh. In a good way. I've spoken to him a lot, and I'm really just waiting until he's free. And I really want to start with him. I met with music producer and singer-songwriter Kevin Rudolph the other day, and he gave me a great track. But I've put that on hold for a bit, because I was getting music that was all R&B and hip-hop, and that won't make sense. Because the hard thing is, I love Sia. I love Adele. I love Lily Allen's new work. But then I also love Lady Gaga and Britney. I think her record is great. I've been trying to incorporate everything. And I'm finally starting to find the sound I want, but I really just want to see what Pharrell has in mind. How high is your new record on your priority list right now? It's as high as Pharrell is ready. Laughs. I've done this other track called Stay. It's a ballad, but it's a killer song. Samantha's obsessed with it, which makes me happy. I don't want it to be all about like relationships and highs and lows and too personal. Music doesn't always need to be that way. Britney's getting that right at the moment, and she's marketed as an entertainer, which is what she is. Not necessarily as, like, an artist. And I respect that about her, because she doesn't pretend to be anything other than what she is. Do you want to work with Mark Ronson? I would love to. I would love for him to do something for me. I think he's just really busy. Laughs. You seem to have become better at dealing with your fame now. You're a lot more comfortable. I just don't acknowledge anything that gets said, really, and I never really have. I don't give them as much to say and write about, and I don't have a desire to be out all the time like I did before. But the paparazzi, now that I'm driving again, really freak me out. They're already on me. They're at Samantha's house and my house. It's just stressful. How has your relationship with Sam impacted your life? It's nice. I don't really want to talk about her. Laughs. You don't have to. Thank you. Laughs. What are your thoughts on the TV show Living Lohan? I always told my mom and brother and sister that I think they're hysterical. I love watching them. So why shouldn't other people? It's not too invasive. It's not unfair to the kids. They like it. They try to portray my sister as bratty sometimes or irresponsible, but that's not her at all. Did you watch it? Yeah, I thought they were going to do another season, but I guess they aren't right now. But I loved it. They aren't any different on camera than they are in real life. I don't know if that's bad or good. And how did your line of leggings come about? I wear leggings all the time, and none of them fit the way I wanted them to fit. 6126 came together really quickly, but I've been very particular about how they fit and how they're made. Like, no one wants them too tight here, puts her hands on her waist. They pinch and give you love handles, but you want your legs to look thinner when you're in them. So there's a pair, my favorite ones are the Olivia, that just literally suck your legs in. But I wanted the leggings to be comfortable and wearable at night, and I was like, why not make ones that are perfect for me to wear? Which designers do you like? I love what Marc Jacobs has done for Vuitton this season. I think he's so smart with how he just picks up on everything. Is he someone you'd like to collaborate with? I would love to, yeah. Mark, if you're reading this, yeah, we'll email him. Laughs. But Karl Lagerfeld is the epitome of chic. Do you have plans to do a full line or collaborate with a designer? I would love to start some sort of line, but I don't want to promise anything. But I would like for something like that to happen sooner rather than later. What about your blogging? It's dried up recently. Laughs. It kind of stopped. Why is that? It was a way for you to say what you were thinking rather than have everyone believe in this TMZ image of you. The truth. Yeah. Is that why you did it? To tell the truth? Yeah. I just felt I'm a person too. And I want to say what I want to say, and I'd rather wait for my own website to do it on, rather than on MySpace and all that. I love MySpace and I love Facebook, but, well, everyone has a lot to say, and if you have a voice and it's meaningful, then say it. Or if there's a rumor, clear it up. Wow, I completely forgot that Lindsay was blogging. Did it feel good to do that? It did, but I think I just got carried away, like writing about my relationships. I didn't need to do that, because we weren't broken up and that was silly. And then if that happens again, they expect me to say, no, we're not broken up again. You know, and I got afraid of that. Once you've started, it must be hard to suddenly go silent. Yeah, I didn't want to have to do that, so I chilled with it. Rick Schwartz, the producer of Labor Pain, said of you, when the director yells action, you remember why she's a movie star. I want to find a role for her that crystallizes her career. I feel like I'm trying to spread the gospel of Lindsay. It seems obvious to the people who you're close to that there's genuine talent there. But with you, there's just this bigger picture. Yeah, I know. It gets in the way a lot. That's why I feel like it's important to sit down with people and meet with them and have a conversation. Did you do that with Tim Burton for Alice in Wonderland? No, I didn't get to. It was cast a long time ago. Yeah, but I was on it before it was even, talked about being cast. What is that composition book for? I'm writing all the time. Opens book and starts flicking through pages covered in writing. I started writing sideways. I don't know why. It's really mad, crazy. And those are just thoughts? Just thoughts, poems, things I want to do. You have the tiniest writing ever. Yeah, I just like how it looks. I've always been obsessed with handwriting. Points out a page covered in red ink. That's what I wrote last night when I got home. So at the end of the editorial, there is a handwritten note from Lindsay. I guess this quote is from the first time she was on the cover of NYLON magazine in 2007. Don't fucking lie to me. I can read right through people. You can't lie to an actress. I mean, that's just stupid. Then the very last page of the magazine is an ad. It is another watch ad for Nixon. The concept is two watches just falling into paint and splashing. So it's giving chic, it's giving playful. And we've reached the end. I just appreciate how well wrought everything is in here. Everything is so well thought out. There is a cohesive through line in the creative direction, the design. This is not composed of online articles that were written in 20 minutes because a writer has to write 6 articles a day by noon. When you think about social media and consuming media through your phone, it's supposed to feel more like you're in control, like this is your world, this is your echo chamber. And allegedly, this is like the best way to discover what interests you, to learn about the world, to learn about history. But ultimately, this is a very isolating way to experience the world. And if I were reading this magazine in 2009, it's amazing to know that, 500,000 other people would be reading the same thing. That may sound unfavorably monocultural, but there's also a beauty in having a shared reality with other people. Not only a beauty, but there's a necessity for a shared reality to be able to do anything. But of course, this shared reality should be made honestly and in good faith.